Hello leaders, this is Jason Graziani. Welcome to our channel, Leader for Life. Today we're going to be talking about principle number 5 on becoming and choosing to be a leader for life, which is knowing the world around you and proceeding accordingly. If I asked you a question, if I took this pen and I dropped it, what would happen to the pen? No, you're right. It would fall right here on this piece of paper. And if I asked you, why would it fall? Your mind probably said, gravity, right? Why do I say that? Sir Isaac Newton also has a law that says for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Heck, there's even another law that says energy is neither created nor destroyed, simply transferred. Well, Jason, are you giving us a history lessons on science? Like, what are we talking about right here? But this is where I would interject and say, who cares? If I know that it's gonna fall, why do I need to know why it's gonna fall? And that's going to be kind of our point today in our lesson that we're going to talk about. You don't have much control about the world around you, okay? But the way you proceed as a leader, you do have control over. So we have to know the world and we have to know how we're going to proceed knowing the world. In fact, if I give you another example, I'm going to give you the story of a river. A river, you could look at it one of 3 different ways. So you could look at a river, you could decide, hey, let's go play on it. Let's go get a kayak. Let's go get a boat, a canoe. Let's go have fun on this. And you could have the time of your life. Many people do have the time of their life on a river. The second group of people could say, hey, look, a river. Let's go sit by it and kind of enjoy it, but watch. I don't really want to participate. I don't really know how to swim. I don't want to go out there. I don't feel comfortable. I just kind of want to smell the water. I want to kind of just be around it and observe it. Great. And then the third group of people can go up to the river, jump in, start having a good time, and fall in and drown. And that's not very exciting. But what's my point? You could have a blast on the river, you could watch the river, or the river could kill you. The river does not care and has no feeling towards you. Just like the world around you, the river doesn't care about how you feel about it. So there's a certain set of calculated risks that we take when we make everyday decisions proceeding forward to be a leader. I'm going to give you 5 calculated risks that I want you to pay attention to as you approach any decision and any effort that you're going to put forward. Number 1, legal. I want you to pay attention to the rules, regulations, laws, whether it's your city, your state, your government, your federal government, or anything that has rules and applicable laws. You need to understand that those laws are written for a reason. Number 2, moral. What's right? That even if everybody else is doing the wrong thing, saying the wrong thing, or everybody's kind of confused, you have to lean on your values and principles. I would refer to principle number 2 that we talked about, sound decision making. Going back to the calculated risks, 1 was legal, 2 is moral, 3, cultural norms. You may be in another country. There may be certain religious views, there may be certain cultural norms that you need to adhere to and follow that don't care about you and how you feel about them. You just need to make sure that you pay attention to cultural norms. Number 4, safety. Just like the river example, a great day could turn into a terrible day if you don't follow safe rules and laws. Driving, putting yourself out there at night, what you do. I've often said to my associates at the office, the worst decisions in your life probably took place between midnight and 4 a.m. And if you think about some of the worst times in your life, it happened later at night because those are times where you were most vulnerable and maybe you made a bad decision during those times. Finally, after safety, number 5 is people's feelings. Now, it's easy for me and many of my peers in the leadership game to say things like, I don't care what people think, or I'm going to do this because this is what I'm doing because we're convicted or we're passionate people. And us leaders, we really are like that. But I want you to know that this is one area where sometimes our advice does contradict itself. There are times where you have to make a decision, and regardless of what people think about it, you're going to move forward with that decision. However, that doesn't mean that you don't think about the way that people feel. That was a big mistake that I've made in my career, in my life, in thinking about when I thought something was right, I moved forward with it and I said, it doesn't matter what people think, this is right. However, sometimes there's a way that you could proceed and move forward while still being right, but take into account a compassionate perspective about how people around you are feeling. And sometimes you could do what's right and make sure that people around you feel appropriate too. So do your best. At the end of the day, you have to do what's right regardless of what people feel. But if you could do it at the same time where you respect and you adhere to people's feelings in a compassionate way, I think you'll go a long way as a leader at the same time. Let me give you a couple of examples of calculated risks you've had to make in your life. Let's start when you're a kid. Let's go up to teenager, young adult, and maybe now in your corporate and your professional world if you're an adult right now listening to me. But if you are a kid, you're probably thinking about the calculated risk of, when do I stay up past my bedtime? Yup, tonight's the night. I know mom says I have to be in bed by 9 o'clock, but tonight's the night. I'm going to stay up. You know mom's going to be mad or dad's going to be mad, but you made the decision anyways to proceed accordingly. And maybe you stayed up late and you got in trouble. Maybe you talked back. Maybe you ate candy too late. Maybe you saw a movie you weren't supposed to watch. These were all decisions that you made in your youth that you had to evaluate. What's the world around me? Which means, what is my teacher going to say? What's my mom going to say? What's my boss going to say? Okay. And then you still made the decision. You got a little bit older. Now you're a teenager. You've got decisions of whose car do you get into? Who drives? Maybe you have decisions about what job do I go get? Where do I work? What's the cost to benefit analysis on going to work and making this much while it's costing me this much in gas? These are all different decisions that you have to make, okay? Partying for the first time. Maybe you're a young adult and you go out and maybe you're in the nightlife scenario. Maybe you advance past that and you're a young adult and you go out there and you have your first apartment. Maybe you have children for the first time. And maybe here you are thinking, it was just a few years ago I was a kid and now I'm responsible for another human life. And I've got to pay bills and pay my taxes and do all these different things. But I don't know. Hey, to all the mothers that are out there, I married a single mom, like you guys already know, Natalie. And I could tell you something, I still, every single day of my life, one, I couldn't even imagine physically having children. And then number two, the respect that I have for mothers, especially single moms, that had to go out there every day and make a decision for their life and the life of another child, while nobody gave them any coaching and there was no schooling on that. You just had to make decisions and proceed accordingly. Mothers are some of the best examples on how to proceed accordingly because they don't get an opportunity to sit and wait. They have to go and move forward and take care of somebody. I think that if you treated the people that you're in care for, the people that you're responsible to lead, if you treat them like the same way you would make decisions for your family, you would have to absorb all those calculated risks and you'd still have to get up every day and go do something. You know, I want to draw attention to COVID-19 epidemic that obviously everybody knows about, and there's a big debate. Do we wear masks? Do we not wear masks? Do you social distance? How do you do this? What is the right steps to take? And by the way, you could debate and have your own opinion, and that's completely up to you. I will just say one thing on it, that COVID-19 and our response to it is a calculated risk. For example, I listen to people's arguments. I listen to this side, I listen to this side. And I too am deciding on what's best for myself, my family, and my organization on how to proceed accordingly. And I hear people say, we have to do everything we need to do to save lives, that saving lives is the most important thing. And I believe that saving lives is very important, very important. However, I'm going to bring another question to your attention. If the number one focus was to save lives, and that was our solve as policymakers in society, then why wouldn't we make the speeding limit on highways 30 miles an hour? We wouldn't do that. You probably just imagined your 1 hour commute now turning into 2 hours or 3 hours. You may have just imagined that trip across town going, oh my gosh, that would take forever. I would never do that. So guess what? We as a society make a calculated risk to drive fast. And we do that because of the incremental gains to our lives is greater than the number of lives that we may lose on the highway for driving fast. Now, that's just an example, and I don't mean to be not sensitive to the process. And though I believe in making sure that we're safe and that we social distance and everything, we have to make decisions, whether it's for COVID-19, whether it's for where your kids go to school, and whether it's for you starting a business. We have to make calculated risks on what would give us the greatest incremental benefit to our life and what risk are we really willing to take. So let's talk about 5 steps to help you make that decision to move forward and to proceed. Number 1, know your outcome for your thoughts, words, and deeds. Okay? Know your outcome for your thoughts. Well, yeah. You know, the human mind, when left to its own devices, we talked about this on another episode, typically goes negative or goes small. So if I'm going to engage in a thought process to make a decision, I want to know, what's my outcome? Why am I talking about this subject? Why are we watching this video? What is improving in my life by doing this? So I need to know my outcome by my thoughts. If I'm going to speak, whether I'm speaking to an audience, whether I'm speaking to a classroom, to my people at the office, or I'm just speaking at home, I need to know what's my outcome in speaking to these people. Okay, what is the outcome? Is it just to talk? No. How am I incrementally bettering the lives of the people around me by opening my mouth? And then finally, behaving, my actions, what I do, what is the outcome for my actions? Because if you're a leader, you're going to be scrutinized constantly. And the larger the group of people that's under your watch, the larger the scrutiny and the more the criticism. Whether you're an athlete who's deemed the saint of the city, gonna bring a championship to the city, they're the most loved, we buy their jerseys, but then we rip them down when they miss the shot and we hate them because they're the leader, they're the one that's out in front, and those are their actions. So the number one is knowing your outcome, okay, when you proceed. Number two, know your audience. I wrote a few notes here: religion, geography, politics, sports, family values. Whoever I'm speaking to, it's most important to know who's listening to this. If I'm posting on the internet, it's everybody. You have to assume that everybody's listening. So you can't play dumb anymore. It's an open society, it's an open format. But if I'm also speaking on a conference call, or I'm speaking at a school, or I'm speaking at a church, or I'm speaking at a hospital, I want to know, what are the people there, what's the audience, and what's important to them? So that as I open my mouth, or as I engage in thought, or as I engage in behavior, that I'm doing it to serve them and incrementally provide value to their life. Number three, know the sensitivities in the room. And when I say sensitivities in the room, it's typically referencing current events, mainstream media, knowing what's being talked about around you so that you understand how people feel. You may not mean to say something disrespectful, but because you're not paying attention to the sensitivities in the room, you may say a statement or say a thought. And although you have the freedom of speech, just know that you may be also impacting somebody in a negative way if you're not paying attention to the sensitivities of those people. Now, if you've made a calculated decision and you say, nope, I know what I'm doing and I know they're not going to like it and I'm saying it anyways, that is your choice and you can't do that. I'm just giving you some preventative measures so that you don't have to be everybody's enemy at the same time. Number four, know how you're being perceived by those that are watching you. Know how you're being perceived. How are you introduced to speak? The audience that's reading your messages or listening to your words or watching your actions, how do they know who you are? How do you believe they're being perceived? Well, Jason, how do I do that? What do you do? I'll give it to you finally on the last point, number five. How do you do it? Let me tell you exactly how you do it. By keeping honest people around you who care about you. I will repeat. By keeping honest people, meaning people that will tell you the truth, okay? Like my younger brother, Jeremy, that helps me with many of the projects that I work on. I keep Jeremy around because he's an honest person who's going to tell me the truth, but he also loves me. He cares about me. So if you have people around you that'll tell you the truth, but they don't care about you, they may just say what's convenient for them at the time. And then if you have people around you that love you, but they're not going to tell you the truth, they may just tell you you're awesome all the time. Oh, you're awesome. You're amazing. You're fantastic. I know you're watching. Let me give you an example. I'm going to tell you, my mom's probably watching this. She loves watching my videos. And she'll always say that I'm amazing and that I do a great job. But I'll tell you something else that she's going to say. She's going to say, hey, you say you guys too much. You need to stop saying you guys. I mean, when you talk to your people, you keep saying you guys, you guys, you guys, you guys. You guys. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to this and I said, you know what? One, she's being honest. Two, she loves me and she's giving me honest, sincere feedback because that's absolutely 100% the truth. And so there may be phrases, words, and different things that I even do on these videos. And just know I too am improving and we're going to keep getting better each and every week, you guys. And so I hope that you have fun with us. Today, we talked about principle number 5 on choosing to be a leader for life. We talked about knowing the world around you and proceeding accordingly. We talked about some calculated risks. We even referenced science and Sir Isaac Newton and some of the great laws that exist in the universe. Not having to understand those laws, but just knowing that they're there so that you can make a decision to proceed accordingly. Hey leaders, if you like this content, if you found value in your everyday life, I want you to go ahead and subscribe to our channel, Leader for Life. I'd like you to like the content, share it with some of your friends and family, and heck, even leave us a comment. Let us know, like, hey, you know what? I think you guys are doing great here. Can you kind of touch on this subject, or can you do an episode on that subject? And we'll go ahead and do it. We're going to stay tuned, and I can't wait to see you guys in the future. Take care. God bless you, and we'll see you at the top.